If I had to think of 3 words that summarize this guitar, it would be aggressive. Obviously, we gotta go aggressive, right? Because metal bands, metal guitar player, metal guitar, first and foremost. Versatile would be the second word, just because it covers so much more than that. And if you've heard any Periphery record of the past 13 years, you know that we go more than just in-your-face metal all the time. And third would be class, I would say. Class or classy. Because look at it. And this is what I love about this guitar and PRS, is because it checks all those boxes, and at the end of the day, it looks good while it does it. Hi, I'm Mark Holcomb from Periphery, and today I'm excited to show you guys my brand new 2025 PRS signature model. This guitar is the holy grail of guitars for me, and the story of this guitar dates back to, gosh, at this point, 2013. Paul and his team knew that Periphery was local because we were from Washington, DC. And we were all living around the DC area. So they invited me, Misha, and Jake out to check out the Archon, give our feedback, and just give our thoughts on the amp. And we went out there, we loved the amp. We sort of became friendly with Bev Fowler, Rich Hannon, and of course, Paul. And then I met Paul properly at the subsequent NAMM. And we were talking about guitars. We were dorking out over gear and guitars and guitar specs. What I love about Paul is that he's one of the most passionate minds in guitar building that I've ever met. Maybe the most passionate that I've ever met. And he asked me, you know, what would your perfect guitar look like? What would it play like? What would the specs be? And, you know, we were going back and forth about, you know, scale length and fretboard radius and kind of the nerdy ins and outs of guitar speak. He's basically like, what if I build you this guitar? Would you play it? And I, of course, was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's talk more about this. So I pestered him for a couple months, and they eventually built me what ended up becoming the 2015 core model that we released. And this predates the SE model that came out the year after in 2016. I give a lot of credit to PRS in the beginning stages of Periphery's career because they showed a lot of care to myself and to Periphery. They invested a lot of resources and time into me and Periphery in the early stages when not a lot of people really did, not a lot of companies did. I was floored at the amount of respect and just attention to detail they were willing to give me in the early days, given the fact that I was not a proven commodity. And from there, that's why I sort of placed all my trust in what they're able to do as guitar builders and just brilliant minds. But the 2015 core model was a limited release. I know we've had a lot of people out there who are fans of the initial guitar wanting for it to come back. And I've since toured for, you know, a decade now at this point with that original prototype. And this is basically the ultra refined, improved upon iteration of that 2015 guitar. When I say that it's been in development for the last decade, that's no exaggeration, as I've had a decade plus to sort of become familiar with the guitar and learn nuances of how it felt, how it played, how it sits in my hands. Everything about the guitar I've had, you know, experience with in the studio, on the road. So it's the culmination really of my entire time with PRS and the most wonderful full circle moment for me to be able to have this guitar finally be in your guys' hands, hopefully. So yeah, it's a landmark moment for me. The SE was something that we started developing in 2015. The SE was meant to encapsulate the main specs of the original 2015 core model. That is the longer scale length, 25.5 inch, scale length, 20 inch fretboard radius, really sort of high gain centric metal pickups in them, string through body, and condense all of that down into like an affordable package. And in my opinion, the SE absolutely captured all of those features and put it into an affordably priced guitar. With this, it's basically like removing all constraints. Money aside, price point aside, let's just make the absolute sickest guitar we possibly can. Basically be the gold standard for the Holcomb guitar. And that's why it's beautiful. It's throwing all constraints out the window and saying, let's just go for it. So it's a no holds barred version of the guitar that we've had in place for a decade plus now. This guitar is a pretty substantial step up from the SE. I would say main differences between this and the SE would be the mango top. You can see for yourself, it's got this really distinct pattern on the top. I did a lot of tracking with it at home to sort of get familiar with the sound that a mango top gives you. I fell in love with it. It's got a pattern thin neck on it. It's a thin neck, but it's not so thin that it only kind of lends itself to, you know, the super shredder music. And I have pretty large hands, so if a neck is too thin, my hands cramp up quite easily. The neck shape is supposed to have some shape, is supposed to have some thickness to it. It's got the locking tuner, phase 3, PRS locking tuners here, which is a lifesaver for me. Here we have the 25.5-inch scale length, same on the SE. 20-inch radius on the neck, completely flat. The scale length was a must. This was from day one. This was from, you know, back in 2013, I asked Paul if they could do it at a 25.5-inch scale length, just because to play this kind of music, to tune how Periphery tunes, we 100% need to have that 25.5-inch scale length at least. Our highest tuning is dropped C. So that's our highest tuning. And that alone, I feel like you're gonna want something more than 25 inches. From there, we tune even lower. That's a drop A. And we do that for a bunch of Periphery songs as well. And that's, you know, between songs on stage, I'll literally just kneel down and retune my guitar, keep the same guitar in my hands. So I want a guitar that can handle that kind of tuning fluctuation. We have songs like Reptile and Zagreus in the Periphery catalog that go down to just irresponsibly low, foolishly low. In terms of stability, the guitar is kind of unrivaled. I mean, you saw earlier, I picked it up right out of the case and it was in tune almost perfectly from having been shipped from the States to the UK to Spain and then shipped back to the UK, and then it's perfectly in tune and stable and set up very well. So pickup-wise in the guitar, I'm working with the Seymour Duncan Scarlet and Scourge, which was a set of pickups that I developed with Seymour Duncan 3-4 years ago. The idea behind these pickups was to build off of what we did with the Alpha Omega, which is the set we had in the initial run of the SE model that we did. The bread and butter of it is the bridge pickup, which is the Scourge. So it's the sound that Periphery is kind of known for. You know, this really stringy, aggressive attack in the bridge pickup. However, in recent years, I've found myself going to mid-gain tones, split coil tones, where in the middle of a heavy riff, for instance, I'll go to the second position or the fourth position to sort of get this sort of like spanky, stringy quality to it. And when I lock in with Jake and Misha, the other guitar players in the band, there's this really percussive element to the sound that I love. And while you're taking away the gain a little bit, you get this really clear, punchy sound. So I've gotten really into cycling through those kind of mid-gain tones in the middle of a really heavy song, just to kind of accentuate those heavy parts with this, like a stringy quality behind it. Obviously for clean tones, there's a big emphasis with Periphery because we're constantly going to clean parts in the middle of songs. So to have the ability to, you know, go from this really pissed off, aggressive sound to something like The ability to have every single type of range covered in a set of pickups is something that I learned over the years of touring and years of recording and performing. I think if you talked to me back in 2010, 2011, when we were just kind of starting out, I probably only would have cared about having a killer bridge pickup and a good metal sound. We nailed that. We nailed that a decade plus ago. For me now, it's about having all these sounds in between. Yeah, it's like a color palette. It's like having a lot of different colors to choose from. And for that reason, I think this guitar sounds at home on a lot of different styles of music. So one thing I wanted to try with this guitar was, instead of having the push-pull, was switch it to a 5-way. Because while I still love the feeling of being able to, on the SE, pull out that knob and have the 3-way switch going, it was just to see how this felt live. And it's something I've seen on different guitars that I've played over the years. It's one of those things that's a little bit easier to do in the middle of a song, in the middle of a riff or whatever, is just, have the switch over, in the first position and switch it to the second or fourth position, but it's just something we wanted to try, differentiate this guitar from the SE. We went for a very stealthy, blacked out approach to the hardware on this. As you can see here, the sort of satin look on the pickup selector, on the tone and volume knobs, the bridge, satin black as well. To sort of match the pickups, the Seymour, Duncan, Scarlet, and Scourges here. It all kind of fits into this stealthy aesthetic that I wanted. However, functionally, it was massively important because I sweat a lot when I play. And one of my least favorite feelings is, when I'm playing all over the neck live, my hand's sticking to the fretboard. And with the satin finish, yeah, it feels absolutely incredible. As you can see here, it's fully on the neck, headstock on the back. So in your hands, it feels satin top to bottom. So this bridge is something that PRS put on a prototype that they built for me last year. And I love the way it sat on my hand. And we went through a couple different revisions on the bridge, and this one always felt the best. For me, string through body, fixed bridge, it always just feels at home. The way it sits on the lower part of my hand, feeling comfortable with what I'm playing so I don't have to think about the way the bridge feels, that's paramount. For me, having a guitar that I don't have to think about or fight in any way is absolutely necessary. Being creative is my bread and butter. Being creative is the reason that I do what I do. And if a guitar doesn't sort of pull that out of me, then I want nothing to do with that guitar. If I can get the guitar that I don't have to fight, the pickups that I don't have to fight, the strings, and the list goes on and on and on. As long as I have those bases covered, I can be as creative as I possibly can be. This is it. This is the guitar that I don't have to think about or fight, because it can just allow me to be the best player and the best, songwriter I can be.